So welcome to our lecture series of signal and system. In this lecture, we will be talking about signal classification, in which we will be having some discussion on the different types of signals like deterministic and non-deterministic signals, periodic or aperiodic or non-periodic signals, even and odd signals, energy and power signals. So the first classification is your deterministic signals. So deterministic signals are those which can be completely specified in time. Generally, the pattern of this kind of signals are regular, and we can characterize them in mathematics. It means when you have given any signals in which you are able to find their amplitude value at any given amount of time, that signals is known as a deterministic signal. For example, talking about xt is equal to cos t, the signal is something like this. So for any given amount of time, maybe at t is equal to 0.001 second or t is equal to 5 seconds, you are able to predict the amplitude of signal x of t. So that's why this xt is known to be deterministic signal. The second example is xt is equal to bt, where this is an example of a ramp signal whose amplitude increases linearly with time, and the slope is b here. So in this case, again, you can say this is something like this, where the slope is b, and again you are able to find its amplitude value for any given amount of time. So these are the example of your deterministic signals. We can have one more example in terms of discrete signal, that is xn equal to 2 for n greater than 0. So since it is a discrete signal, so that's why, and the n is integer, so that's why it is also an example of your deterministic signal, because for any given n which is integer in nature, you are able to find the value of x of. The second type is your non-deterministic signal. Non-deterministic signals are one whose occurrence is always random in nature. Random in nature means you cannot actually predict what will be the value of the signal amplitude for any given amount of time. Like there will be some value, but the prediction is not accurate. That is a totally random in nature, and we cannot express this signal mathematically, since you cannot predict its behavior for the future value of time t. The next one is your periodic and non-periodic signal. If you have given any signal xt, the signal is said to be the periodic in nature if it is repeating after an interval t. That is the capital T here is known as a period of your xt. For example, if I am considering a sine wave and which is continuous, you can say this sine wave is repeating after a period t. So that's why it is periodic in nature. And the same principle is applied for our discrete signal. If you have given a discrete signal x of n, and that xn is periodic in nature, then xn will be equal to xn plus capital N, and that capital N is known as a period of your given signal. We will have some example which clarify more about this periodicity of any given signal. The first one is xt is equal to a cos omega t. So this is your continuous time domain signal. Similarly, we can have a cos omega n. This is your discrete time domain signal. So if you are saying that the given signal is periodic in nature, so we can start from xt is equal to a cos omega t. If it is periodic in nature, then it must satisfy this assumption, that is xt plus t should be equal to xt, and we are saying the signal is periodic in nature with the time period of capital T. So let's see what is xt plus capital T in this case. So that will be a cos omega and t plus capital, because we are replacing small t with t plus capital T here. The same can be written as a cos omega t plus omega capital T. Now as per this function, this will be equal to our initial function, that is a cos omega t. So this given a cos omega t plus capital T omega will be equal to our original initial function only when this omega t should be equal to 2 pi, right? Because cos 2 pi plus theta is your cos theta. So we can, if this omega capital T is equal to 2 pi, then we can say this given signal is periodic in nature. So omega t should be equal to 2 pi. So from here we can comment that the period of this given continuous time domain signal is 2 pi by omega. Similarly, we can calculate the same for our discrete time signal, that is a cos omega n. Here it will become a cos omega n plus omega capital N, and again this has to be equal to 2 pi for the signal to be periodic in nature. We can have omega n equal to 2 pi, right? And we can write this omega as a 2 pi f. So when we are writing it as a 2 pi f, that f will be the frequency of your signal. So generally we are saying this omega n should be equal to 2 pi k naught, where k naught is an integer. So when we are saying this omega is equal to 2 pi f naught, so we can say that f naught will be equal to, now 2 pi to 2 pi will get cancelled out, and this will be k naught upon capital N. This will be the periodicity condition of your discrete time signal. So in this case, my K naught and N both are integer and the frequency F naught is rational. Since K naught and N both are integer, so this will have to be rational in nature. So if the both are integer, then the fundamental period will be capital N in this case. We will solve some example to clarify this. Another one is the non-periodic signal. The signal which are not following this convention, they are known to be as a non-periodic signal. And generally your non-periodic signals are assumed to be having a period of t is equal to infinite. And the example is your exponential signal. As we discussed in our previous lecture, the exponential signal, depending on the alpha value, it could be the decayed one or it could be rising one, right? Depending on the value of alpha, and that is a non-periodic signal because it is not repeating in time. So we can say it will repeat after t equal to infinite. So if you will see some examples, the first one is xn equal to sine 6 pi n divided by 7, and we need to find whether the signal is periodic or not. If it is periodic, what should be the fundamental period of this given signal? So in this case, first we will see, okay, what is the omega? Our general convention is xn equal to sine omega n. So in this case, omega is equal to 6 pi by 7. So which is equal to 2 pi f. So what will be this f naught value here? F naught will be 6 pi by 7 divided by 2 pi. So I can say for this particular case, f naught will be equal to 6 pi by 7 divided by 2 pi. So into 1 upon 2 pi, which is equal to 3 by 7. And as per our discussion, what is f naught? F naught was k naught upon n, right? So f naught was equal to 3 by 7 equal to k by n. And we said this k and n both are integer in nature, and that we can say k is equal to 3. So we can say for this given signal, the signal is periodic in nature with n equal to 7. So this is periodic in nature with n equal to 7. If these two are integer and f naught is not rational, then we will simply say the given signal is non-periodic in nature. So for this particular one, it is periodic in nature with n is equal to 7 samples because it is discrete time signal. So we call them as a 7 samples. Second example, xn equal to sine n by 8. Now in this case, omega is equal to 1 by 8 because general convention is sine omega n. So omega is equal to 1 upon 8, that is equal to 2 pi f. So from here we can say f is equal to 1 upon 16 pi, and that is equal to k upon n. If you will see, the k is integer but n is not an integer value here, and since because pi is a real number, so n is not an integer, that's why the given signal is non-periodic in nature. So this is periodic, the second one is non-periodic in nature. The next classification is even and odd signals. The even signals are one in which if we are using the time reversal property, the signal seems to be same. For example, consider a given signal like this. So this given signal is my x of t. If I am using a time reversal property, that is x of minus t. So in the time reversal, when we are talking about x of minus t, we were talking that the signal is the mirror image on the y-axis. So in this case, if you will plot it x of minus t, the signal will be same. So if after time reversal, your xt is equal to x of minus t, we call that as a even signal. Similarly, if xt is equal to minus of x minus t, that considered as a odd signal. For example, consider a sine wave as a xt. Now, if I want to plot x of minus t will be the mirror image on the y-axis. So this will be something like this. This is our x of minus t. And if we will compare these two, that is nothing but the mirror image on the x-axis, right? So that's why we can say here x of t is equal to minus of x minus t. That's why these signals are known to be as a odd signal. Generally, any given signals can be represented in terms of their even and odd part. So when we are saying the even part, we are saying this as a x of e. So here we will say that as a x of et. It means this is the even part of the given signal, and x of ot, if you are saying, that means it is the odd part of any given signal. So if I'm having any signal gt, we can represent that in terms of summation of their even terms and odd terms. So now if we will plot the even part, so what we will do is we will find the g of minus t. So what will be g of minus t in this case? G of et, that will be same, because in the even signal gt is equal to g of minus t, so this will be same only. But the odd signal g of ot, that will be minus of gt, so we can write this as a minus of gt. So from here we can find the value of even and odd part. So if we will add these two, it will be gt plus g of minus t divided by 2, that will be giving me the even part. If I will subtract, let this is equation 1 and this is equation 2 here. So if we are subtracting equation 1 from equation 2, it will be gt minus g of minus t, and then that is giving us the odd part, g of t. So we can represent any given signal in terms of their even and odd part, where even and odd parts are represented like this. We can have few properties in the summation, difference, multiplication of this even and odd part. So suppose this both the functions are even, then if you are having summation of two signals, that is let x1t, you have two signals x1t and x2t, and you are adding these two signals. First we are talking about the addition, that is the summation part we are talking. So if both the signals are even, then the resultant will also be even. So in that case, the xt, which is equal to x1t plus x2t, will also be a even signal. If both the signals are odd, that is x1t is also odd, x2t is also odd, and if you are adding two odd signals, the resultant will be your odd signal only. If one is even and the second one is your odd signal, then the resultant will be neither even nor odd. And the same convention will be following in your difference as well. So if you are going for x1t minus x2t and both the signals are even, so you can say summation and difference of two even signals results in an even signal only, whereas summation and difference of two odd signals results in the odd signal only. If either of the signals is even or odd, then their summation and difference will result in the neither even nor odd. Similarly, we can have the product and quotient terms. In the product, if both the terms are even and you are going for the multiplication of these two signals, x1 into x2, then the resultant will be even. If both the signals are odd, then the resultant will also be even. If either of them is odd, then the resultant will be odd signal. Talking about an example, consider the given signal and we need to draw its equivalent even and odd parts. Given signal is xt equal to ut minus ut minus 1. So if I will plot this signal ut minus ut minus 1, it will be something like this. This is my xt, because ut will be 140 greater than 0, so it will be 1 for all the range, and then we will subtract the remaining part, that is from ut minus 1. So we are having a time shifted signal that we will be subtracting from the ut, and we will be getting this signal as a x of t. Now we need to find its even and odd part. So if you will see here, the even part is gt plus g minus t divided by 2. So we need to find the gt is given, we need to find the g minus t, then we will add it and we will subtract it. So this is our xt, you can say. Now we need to plot x of minus t. So x of minus t is my time reversal property. This will be something like this. This is from minus 1 to 1. So this will be x of minus t. Similarly, it will be like this, x of minus t. For even signal, it is xt plus x of minus t divided by 2. So first we will go for xt plus x of minus t. So when we will add these two signals, it will be something like this. And the amplitude is 1. So this is my xt plus x of minus t. But the even signal is half of xt plus x of minus t. So that is xt plus x of minus t divided by 2. So when we are dividing it by 2, actually we are changing the amplitude only. So this will be 1 by 2. And that will be my even part. Similarly, for the odd one, it is xt minus x of minus t. So when we will plot this xt, so this is my xt, and then we are subtracting this one. So when we will be subtracting it, it will be something like this, minus 1 to 1, with the amplitude is minus 1 and 1. And this is representing my xt minus of x minus t. But we need to plot the odd part of this, and the odd part is xt minus x minus t divided by 2. So when we are going for divide by 2, its amplitude will be changed. So here previously the amplitude was 1, the newer one will be 0.5 and minus 0.5, and that will be the odd part of this given signal. So this is how we are plotting the even and odd part. So now if you will combine these two, you will be getting the xt only, because what is the xt? Xt was x even plus x odd. So when you will add these two, you will be getting the same signal only. So In this case, after the addition, this will be cancelled out and this part will be added. So 0.5 plus 0.5, it will be 1, and that's what is given in the original signal. The next classification is your energy and power signal. The energy signal is one which is having the finite energy and zero average power. That is, if you have given a signal and if you are saying that the given signal is energy signal, then its energy value will always be finite. That is, it will always be in between 0 to infinite, and the average power will be 0 in nature. Generally, when we are saying the energy of the signal, it is not indicating the actual energy of the signal, because whenever we are talking about the signal, say we are having a signal in the electrical domain, this is the xt that we are talking. Let's have an example. So this is the xt, a voltage which is we are applying here to a load resistor R. So when we are saying the energy of the signal, it is not only about the signal, but it is also depend on the load resistance. So thereby, when we are saying the energy of the signal, that is the energy which is dissipated on this unit resistance. So if you will calculate the energy over this unit resistance, so first you will calculate the power. So that will be x square t upon r. This is and the energy that dissipated to the unit resistance, we are saying that will be the integral of this. That's why we are simply writing this in terms of minus infinite to infinite. For r is equal to 1, this will be integral of x square t dt. That is for real value signal. Sometimes the signal could be of complex value. That's why we are taking the modulus of this. So for any given signal, if you want to calculate the energy, that Ex will be given by the integral in minus infinite to infinite mod of xt square dt. Now when we are saying that energy has to be finite, it means the signal amplitude xt must be equal to 0 if my t is extended to infinite. For example, consider a signal like this. For t is equal to infinite, the amplitude of this xt is going to 0. So here we are having the probability that the signal will be energy signal, but the actual value we will be calculating. So you can say most of the non-periodic signals are my energy signal, because if we are having the periodicity, say we are having a cos t, cos omega t, or sin omega t, like this. So even at t is equal to infinite, xt, the value of the amplitude of the signal will never be 0. And if the amplitude is not going to 0, so when you will integrate this over this time interval, it will be infinite in nature. That's why we are saying the periodic signals have the probability that they are not the energy signals, whereas the non-periodic signals have the probability that they are the energy signals. So we are saying here that they have the probability, but we are not saying that all the non-periodic signals will be energy signals. That is not the case. Similarly, when we are talking about the power signals, so most of the periodic signals tends to be power signal, because the power signals are one in which the power is finite and the energy is infinite. Because for the periodic signal, we will be talking about the average power, and that can be calculated for a given period. So in this case, if you are talking about a time period of minus t by 2 to t by 2, so it will be limit of t extend to infinite 1 by t mod of xt square dt. Now let's see some examples. The first one is xt equal to ut, and we need to find whether the given signal is energy signal or power signal. So in this case, first we will be calculating the energy of the signal. Energy will be minus infinite to infinite ut square dt. So ut will be 1. So in this case, from 0 to infinite, it will be 1, and from minus infinite to 0, it will be 0. So we can modify it, and it will be from 0 to infinite. This will be 1 into dt. The integral will be t, and the value will be infinite. So energy of this ut will be infinite. Let's discuss about the power. The power will be limit t extend to infinite 1 upon t integral of minus t by 2 to t by 2. We are considering any time period here, and it will be ut dt. Now in this case, from minus t by 2 to 0, it will be 0, and from 0 to t by 2, it will be 1. So this will be extended to 1 upon t integral from 0 to t by 2, and here it will be having value of 1. So this will be 1 into dt. So this seems to be equal to t by 2, and t to t get cancelled. So the power is equal to 1 by 2. So we can say here the energy is infinite, but power is 1 by 2. So the given signal is my power signal. Have another example, TUT. So this is a ramp signal, something like this. So here if you will find the energy, E will be minus infinite to infinite here, signal square TUT square dt. ut is having again the positive interval only. So we can write this in terms of 0 to infinite t square dt. This will be, integral will be t cube upon 3. And when we will put the limit, it will be infinite. So energy of this signal is infinite. Now if you're talking about the power of the given signal, so power will be limit t tending to infinite 1 upon t minus ty2 to ty2 mod of tut square dt. Now in this case again, minus ty2 to 0, the value will be 0. So we can write it like 1 upon t integral of t square dt, where the limit is from 0 to ty2. Now this will be again t cube upon 3. And when we will put the limit, it will be t cube upon 24. So this will be equal to, we can write it like limit t extend to infinite 1 upon t into, after putting the limit, it will be t cube upon 8 into 3, it will be 24. So t1 will be cancelled out, this will be t square. And when we will impose this limit t extend to infinite, this will be infinite. So for this given signal, both energy and powers are infinite. So we can say the given signal TUT is neither my energy signal nor my power signal. Although it is non-periodic in nature, still the given signal is not energy, not power. So that's why in the initially we said that for non-periodic signals are having the tendency that they might be the energy signal. And the periodic signals are having the tendency that they might be the power signal. But it is not the universal one. So we need to cross check whether the given signal is energy or power depending on their value. So we can say the given signal is an energy signal if it is having the finite energy and power 0, and the given signal is my power signal if it is having finite power and infinite energy. Thank you.